Hello, welcome to Culture TV and to Advanced Russian. In this video, we'll look at how to form and use the conditional mood. Stay tuned. So this is the first episode of our online program, Let's Speak Russian for Advanced Level. Today we're going to look at the conditional mood. And in this series of videos, we'll learn Russian as authentically as possible. That's to say that we're going to use Russian and Soviet media to aid us with our learning. And in this video, we're going to use an extract from a famous Russian cartoon called Smeshariki to help us. When I was younger, I absolutely adored this cartoon, and I have to say I still watch it now sometimes as well. But anyway, let's start off with the theory. So, the conditional mood. In Russian, there are three types of conditional mood. The conditional present, the conditional future, and the conditional past. Some people sometimes refer to them as realistic and unrealistic. To be honest, there are many names for them, but the idea is that there are three types, okay? And generally, or very often, they will include the use of the conjunction если, which means if, okay? So let's have a look at these three types then. First of all, we have the present conditional, and we generally use this for events that take place under certain conditions. For example, если мне холодно, я надеваю куртку. Если мне холодно, я надеваю куртку. Notice here that we're using the present tense. We're conjugating the verbs of this sentence in the present tense. That is why we call it the present conditional. This is what sometimes is referred to also as the realistic conditional. So essentially, if I'm cold, I put my coat on. Okay, this is a realistic event and it's something that usually takes place. So whenever it gets cold, I put my coat on. So in this case, the circumstance is the weather. I put my coat on given that it gets cold. Okay, next one is future conditional. And this is used for events that have the potential to take place. So they can take place. They haven't happened yet, but they might do. And it's nothing unrealistic. It's perfectly fine and it's a credible event as well that might happen sometime in the future. For example, если поезд приедет вовремя, мы не опоздаем. Если поезд приедет вовремя, мы не опоздаем. If the train arrives on time, we won't be late. So here we're talking about something that's going to happen in the future. So maybe tomorrow we're planning to go somewhere and we're going to use the train. If the train arrives on time, we know that we won't be late to, I don't know, a concert that we're going to, for example, okay? So we're talking about something that is yet to happen. So the event that we're referring to in this sentence is not being late. We will not be late given that the train will arrive on time, okay? That's it. So it's basically the same as the present conditional, but it refers to the future, okay? And notice for future conditional, we conjugate our verbs in the future tense. This generally tends to be the simple future tense, i.e. we use the perfective form of the verb, or you can use the compound, i.e. буду, будешь, будет, and so on, plus the infinitive of the imperfective. That also works. But the key point is that the verbs are in the future tense, okay? And lastly, we have the past conditional, which is what is sometimes referred to as the unrealistic conditional mood. And there are several uses for this. First of all, it is for events that can't possibly happen, that are impossible, maybe for dreams or wishes, or it's used for something that could have happened, hence the name past conditional, but didn't. And for sentences that use the past conditional, we need to include the particle бы, okay? So, an example. Если бы я жил в Москве, я бы гулял в парке культуры каждый день. Если бы я жил в Москве, я бы гулял в парке культуры каждый день. If I were to live in Moscow, I would go for walks in the Park Kultury. The Park of Culture is what we translate it as every day. Park Kultury, it's a famous recreational park in Moscow, okay. If I were to live in Moscow, so this is kind of like the subjunctive really, isn't it? So it's a wish, it's something hypothetical that is unlikely to happen. Or we mean that I'm not living in Moscow now, so therefore I can't go for walks in Park Kultury, therefore this is unrealistic, okay? Likewise, as the name of this conditional mood suggests, we could use this to talk about something that previously could have happened. So maybe I could have lived in Moscow and therefore I could have gone walking in this park. Okay? Hopefully that all makes sense. Let's now apply all our knowledge. I'm going to show you an extract from this Russian cartoon Smeshariki. Try and follow it as much as you can. I'll stop it and I'll give explanations. Okay? Here we go.
Я так больше не могу. Мне надо подышать свежим воздухом.
So first of all, we have the phrase there, "Я так больше не могу," which literally translates as, "I can't do it this way anymore." But it just pretty much means that he's fed up, he's tired, he just doesn't want to carry on. Okay. Also, very nice phrase here, "свежий воздух." Make sure to write that one down. It's used very frequently among Russians. It just means fresh air. It's the exact equivalent of fresh air. Okay?
Мне сегодня вечером еще сложнейшие эксперименты делать.
I've yet to do extremely difficult experiments this evening. Extremely difficult is conveyed through сложнейшие. Now that is not simply just the superlative, which would be самый сложный. It's not really informal, but it's something that you won't find in textbooks, really. It really just adds that emphasis of it being so hard, the hardest possible. By the way, this character here, this deer, is very intelligent, very prudent and wise, and always tries to teach other people and does so very well, and he knows a lot about science, hence why he's doing experiments. Let's carry on watching.
Здесь еще на одну. Давай последнюю.
Здесь еще на одну. Now notice we have no verb here, and that happens frequently in Russian. You'll find sentences which appear to have no verbs. Sometimes the verb to be is just hiding there, but obviously, as you know, in Russian we don't have the verb to be. And there we go, very typical Russian phrase. I hope you all know it by now. Давай. In this case, it just means come on. Like, come on, stop being silly. There's just one more left. Like, it doesn't cost you anything. Okay?
А то опять переваривать придется.
Okay, now we have the verb переваривать. Переваривать, which usually means to digest. But in this case, we're not talking about digestion. This owl here, she's cooking jam, okay? This is jam or compote, and we're talking about boiling or cooking. Now look at the prefix there, пере. What usually does the prefix пере mean? Something like over or re. So basically, it means to recook. So the idea is that if this deer doesn't put lids on all of these jars of jam, which as you can see appears to be a very arduous task, then she will have to recook, so remake all of the jam. And when I was younger and I was watching this, I had no idea what переваривать could mean in this context. So just because I was exposed to loads of vocabulary and I already knew that period generally means to do something again, I could guess that it means, okay, so she's going to have to cook the jam again, repeatedly. So this just shows how important it is to have a wide range of vocabulary and not to keep memorizing words, but then you can just use your talent, you can use your skills that you've already gained through learning vocab to guess, to make assumptions what new words can mean, okay? Anyway, let's carry on.
Не могу. Жарко. Я сейчас копыта откину. О, я немного на крыльце постою, а потом все, что хотите.
Okay, so we have the Russian word крыльцо here, and крыльцо is something that we don't really have in English because it refers to an area in front of the house or in front of a block of flats generally, whereby, I've translated it as a porch here. Sometimes it can mean even a balcony. It's just a bit of concrete. Sometimes it's a bit more elevated and has steps, but it's just basically something in front of an entrance, yeah? If it's a house, if it's a detached house somewhere in the countryside, people tend to leave like their shoes there. There'll be some kind of rug or mat there, but it looks something like this. Okay, let's carry on.
Потом выкипит.
Same idea. Выкипит comes from the verb выкипать, Выкипать. Кипеть on its own means to boil. Now that we've added the prefix вы, again we can use a bit of background knowledge to guess that выкипать means to boil away or overboil. If she leaves the jam boiling and this deer is standing on the porch doing nothing, wasting time, then all the jam will boil away, and the water will evaporate, and you'll end up with some kind of slush that doesn't resemble jam at all. So therefore he needs to crack on and sort out the final jar of jam.
Что такое?
Сосулька.
Вот видишь?
Вот видишь literally translates as do you see, or, well, pretty much you see. Вот is again one of those particles in Russian that are hard to translate, but видишь is obviously you see, but in this case it's more like a there you go. Do you see what's happened now? Let's carry on.
А ты не хотел баночку закручивать?
Same idea with закручивать. It's hard to translate really, but закручивать means to twist, but in this case it's referring to putting lids onto those jars of jam.
Сейчас бы стоял на крыльце и получил бы по полной.
Okay, here we go. Great example of the conditional. And this time, as you can see, we didn't have the conjunction если. And that just shows that we don't always have to have if for the conditional. It's the same in English. Сейчас бы стоял. And in this case, the owl is referring to what would have happened or what were to happen if the deer was still standing in the same place. And in this case, in Russian, we don't really need to use the conjunction если. By saying сейчас, she's kind of implied like right now, because as you can see in the video, it happened all in a matter of a couple of seconds. Сейчас kind of just means, yeah, literally just now, if you were still standing there, you would have been seriously injured. Получить по полной, very interesting phrase. The word получить also has several meanings in Russian. It's quite hard actually, but very often people use получить to mean I will hit you, I will maybe punch you even sometimes, and many friends often use it in a sarcastic way. It's humorous, it's even, it can even be sometimes something more cute or in more intimate relationships. For example, the phrase сейчас ты у меня получишь, или сейчас ты получишь, I'm going to hit you in a second. So something like that, people tend to just mess around and play around, but in this case, obviously, it means to be injured by the icicle. Okay, let's carry on.
Вечером не было бы никаких экспериментов.
Same idea here. Вечером не было бы никаких экспериментов. So why are we using the past conditional here? Well, because if the icicle were to fall on him and that did not happen, okay, then a certain series of events, due to a circumstance that didn't happen, we now need to use the past conditional. There would be no experiment because the icicle fell on his head. But because the icicle did not fall on its head, then presumably the experiments are going to take place because he's not injured. So therefore he is using the past conditional because it's impossible now because the icicle did not fall on his head. This is quite difficult, but I hope you're managing to grasp this. Okay, let's carry on.
А завтра я не смог бы с чистой совестью покататься на лыжах.
Same idea here. I apologize, there is an error there. It shouldn't be mog, it should be smog because it's the perfective form. Same idea really, even though he's referring to the future, so he's talking about tomorrow and him not being able to go skiing tomorrow. But because the icicle would have fallen onto his head in the past, we still use the past conditional, okay? So it's not that the icicle will fall on him in the future, it would have fallen already. That was the circumstance. The circumstance happened in the past, therefore we need to use the conditional in the past as well, okay?
Вся жизнь пошла бы по-другому.
Если бы она вообще сохранилась.
And there we go, that was the first part of this cartoon. If you found it interesting, if you want to carry on watching it with subtitles and my explanations, keep an eye out. There will be a video on our channel very soon. I hope it all makes sense. If not, please ask questions in the comments. Likewise with any feedback or other queries that you have. Thank you very much for subscribing. Thank you very much for liking and for your attention as well. See you next time. Goodbye.